Section 9 of The Blonde Lady. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Lenny. The Blonde Lady by Maurice Leblanc. Translated by Alexander Teixeira de Matos. Section 9. The Jewish Lamp, Part 3. The sun hung heavily over the river. The angler had resumed his work, sheltered under the huge brim of his straw hat. His jacket and waistcoat lay folded by his side. He fished attentively, while the float of his line rocked idly on the current. Quite a minute elapsed, a minute of solemn and awful silence. "Is it he?" thought Shears, with an almost painful anxiety. And then the truth burst upon him. "It is he! It is he! He alone is capable of sitting like that, without a tremor of uneasiness, without the least fear as to what will happen. And who else could know the story of the picture book? Alice must have told him by her messenger." Suddenly the Englishman felt that his hand, that his own hand, had seized the butt end of his revolver, and that his eyes were fixed on the man's back, just below the neck. One movement, and the whole play was finished. A touch of the trigger, and the life of the strange adventurer had come to a miserable end. The angler did not stir. Shears nervously gripped his weapon with a fierce longing to fire and have done with it, and, at the same time, with horror of a deed against which his nature revolted. Death was certain. It would be over. "Oh," he thought, "let him get up. Let him defend himself. If not, he will have only himself to blame. Another second, and I fire." But a sound of footsteps made him turn his head, and he saw Ganimard arrive, accompanied by his inspectors. Then, changing his idea, he leapt forward, sprang at one bound into the boat, breaking the painter with the force of the jump, fell upon the man, and held him in a close embrace. They both rolled to the bottom of the boat. "Well," cried Lupin, struggling, "and then? What does this prove? Suppose one of us reduces the other to impotence, what will he have gained? You will not know what to do with me, nor I with you. We shall stay here like a couple of fools." The two oars slipped into the water. The boat began to drift. Mingled exclamations resounded along the bank, and Lupin continued: "Lord, what a business! Have you lost all sense of things? Fancy being so silly at your age, you great schoolboy! You ought to be ashamed!" He succeeded in releasing himself. Exasperated, resolved to stick at nothing, Shears put his hand in his pocket. An oath escaped him. Lupin had taken his revolver. Then he threw himself on his knees and tried to catch hold of one of the oars in order to pull to the shore, while Lupin made desperate efforts after the other in order to pull out to midstream. "Got it! Missed it!" said Lupin. "However, it makes no difference. If you get your oar, I'll prevent your using it, and you'll do as much for me. But there, in life, we strive to act, without the least reason, for it's always fate that decides. There, you see, fate. Well, she's deciding for her old friend Lupin. Victory! The current's favoring me." The boat, in fact, was drifting away. "Look out!" cried Lupin. Some one on the bank pointed a revolver. Lupin ducked his head. A shot rang out. A little water spurted up around them. He burst out laughing: "Heaven help us, it's friend Ganimard! Now that's very wrong of you, Ganimard. You have no right to fire except in self-defense. Does poor Arsène make you so furious that you forget your duties? Hullo, he's starting again! But, wretched man, be careful! You'll hit my dear maître here." He made a bulwark of his body for Shears, and, standing up in the boat, facing Ganimard: "There, now I don't mind. Aim here, Ganimard, straight at my heart. Higher, to the left. Missed again. You clumsy beggar! Another shot? But you're trembling, Ganimard. At the word of command, huh? And steady now. 1, 2, 3, fire! Missed! Dash it all, does the government give you toys for pistols?" He produced a long, massive, flat revolver, and fired without taking aim. The inspector lifted his hand to his hat. A bullet had made a hole through it. "What do you say to that, Ganimard? Ah, this is a better make. Hats off, gentlemen. This is the revolver of my noble friend, Maître Holmlock Shears." And he tossed the weapon to the bank, right at the inspector's feet. Shears could not help giving a smile of admiration. What superabundant life! What young and spontaneous gladness! And how he seemed to enjoy himself! It was as though the sense of danger gave him a physical delight, as though life had no other object for this extraordinary man than the search of dangers which he amused himself afterward by averting. Meantime, crowds had gathered on either side of the river, and Ganimard and his men were following the craft, which swung down the stream, carried very slowly by the current. It meant inevitable, mathematical capture. "Confess, Maître," cried Lupin, turning to the Englishman, "that you would not give up your seat for all the gold in the Transvaal. You are in the first row of the stalls. But first and before all, the prologue, after which we will skip straight to the fifth act, the capture or the escape of Arsène Lupin. Therefore, my dear Maître, I have one request to make of you, and I beg you to answer yes or no, to save all ambiguity. Cease interesting yourself in this business. There is yet time, and I am still able to repair the harm which you have done. Later on, I shall not be. Do you agree?" "No." Lupin's features contracted. This obstinacy was causing him visible annoyance. He resumed: I insist even more for your sake than my own, for I am certain that you will be the first to regret your interference. Once more, yes or no?" "No." Lupin squatted on his heels, shifted one of the planks at the bottom of the boat, and for a few minutes worked at something which Shears could not see. Then he rose, sat down beside the Englishman, and spoke to him in these words: "I believe, Maître, that you and I came to the river bank with the same purpose, that of fishing up the object which Bresson got rid of, did we not? I, for my part, had made an appointment to meet a few friends, and I was on the point, as my scanty costume shows, of effecting a little exploration in the depths of the Seine, when my friends gave me notice of your approach. I'm bound to confess that I was not surprised, having been kept informed, I venture to say, hourly, of the progress of your enquiry. It is so easy. As soon as the least thing likely to interest me occurs in the Rue Murillo, quick, they ring me up and I know all about it. You can understand that, in these conditions—" He stopped. The plank which he had removed now rose a trifle, and water was filtering in all around in driblets. "The deuce! I don't know how I managed it, but I have every reason to think that there's a leak in this old boat. You're not afraid, Maître?" Shears shrugged his shoulders. Lupin continued: "You can understand, therefore, that, in these conditions, and knowing beforehand that you would seek the contest all the more greedily the more I strove to avoid it, I was rather pleased at the idea of playing a rubber with you, the result of which is certain, seeing that I hold all the trumps. And I wished to give our meeting the greatest possible publicity, so that your defeat might be universally known, and no new Comtesse de Crozon nor Baron d'Imblevalle be tempted to solicit your aid against me. And in all this, my dear Maître, you must not see—" He interrupted himself again, and using his half-closed hand as a field-glass, he watched the banks. "By Jove! They freighted a splendid cutter, a regular man-of-war's boat, and they're rowing like anything! In 5 minutes they will board us, and I shall be lost. Mr. Shears, let me give you one piece of advice: throw yourself upon me, tie me hand and foot, and deliver me to the law of my country. Does that suit you? Unless we suffer shipwreck, meanwhile, in which case there will be nothing for us to do but make our wills. What do you say?" Their eyes met. This time Shears understood Lupin's operations. He had made a hole in the bottom of the boat. And the water was rising. It reached the soles of their boots. It covered their feet. They did not move. It came above their ankles. The Englishman took his tobacco pouch